Jesse, could you share with our audience your journey from copywriting to becoming an SEO expert and the founder of Method and Metric? What experiences shaped your expertise in the field?
Sure. Yeah, growing up, writing was always something that came really naturally to me. And I, always kind of gravitated to wanting to be a writer. But I found that in my early career, just getting started, it was extremely hard to kind of validate my writing process. If my boss didn't like my writing, there wasn't really a good recourse or an answer back to that. And it was around the time that, Google was really taking off. And I found that with SEO and, optimizing websites, that if somebody said they didn't like my writing, I could point to the analytics and be like, well, my writing is ranking number one for these keywords and it's helping to generate more revenue. And so shifting my writing skills from just copywriting into the analytics side of things really gave me a huge boost of confidence in figuring out, how I can provide a business service and not just a creative writing service. And so from there, it all spun into what Method and Metric is now. For several years, I was a freelance consultant, working with a lot of different brands, mostly in my own city in Vancouver, Canada. And then it got to a point where, it was time to kind of change the brand name and kind of incorporate my business and make it more rooted and stable than just having it be myself.
That's an excellent story. I particularly like how you transition from writing into copywriting, because I think with this, it's like you have analytics. So I think the testability of SEO writing, it boosts your confidence, especially when you get it right and the analytics say so. But if you're just writing in general, like there's not that many things that you can test. And I really like that approach.
Yeah, exactly. Like today, especially in the digital world, we have so much data at our disposal. And if you're making any kind of decision, business decision, marketing decisions, anything, like it should be backed up and supported by data and analytics. And I kind of learned that the hard way, but if you can really understand the data and what your audience is telling you from the analytics, you'll have a much better success rate than if you don't.
Definitely. I think what your audience is telling you is one of the key things that businesses need to focus on. So Method and Metric has helped numerous businesses skyrocket their website traffic and revenue through SEO strategies. Could you share a success story about the impact that your agency has made?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this now for nearly 6 years, and we've had several great success stories when it comes to optimizing their website and determining kind of how they fit into the market. But one that really stands out, I was working with a mental health practitioner, a counselor, therapist. We were able to take her practice from it just being her to growing her team to 7 people. From an SEO perspective, we were able to tap into a lot of topics and ideas that people were searching for quite often, and convert that into blog posts, which ultimately led to more people reaching out and booking appointments. And so we were able to increase their traffic within the first 6 months by tenfold. So they were getting maybe a few hundred visits a month, and now they get over 5,000 visits a month. So that's definitely one that I'm extremely proud of.
That's an excellent story. I think the impact that SEO can have for a small business, I think it's a lot more measurable than a large business, because if you're working on a large business and you are able to grow it by tenfold, you won't see as much result as something that started with one person to 7 people. And I think that's excellent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's also like working with small businesses, you definitely get to see the impact of your work much more quickly and more visibly, because for a lot of the companies that we've worked with, like we were their only marketing department, and so that part is super exciting and definitely rewarding.
Definitely. So, in the ever-changing landscape of SEO, what key principles and methodologies do you follow at Method and Metric that set your approach apart from others in the industry?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, it's kind of right there in our name. We have a lot of methods and we use metrics to measure things. One piece that I think really does separate us from the rest of the other agencies out there is our research methods and figuring out, what the best strategy is for a client. Anyone can build a keyword set. Anyone can, optimize pages based on, the known ranking factors. But I think that where we differentiate ourselves is our ability to identify where a website fits within the search landscape and what their opportunities are within the search results, but also like as they stack up against their competitors, and figuring out where those big opportunities are to help them generate more traffic and more traction so that they can start ranking and competing for bigger and more competitive keywords.
Definitely. So, having a more clear understanding of where that website is operating in and the environment
Yeah,
is crucial to your approach, I see.
exactly. Like one example I would use would be like if you are selling, office chairs, right? Um, you know, obviously one of your competitors will be IKEA and another one will definitely be Amazon. But if you only carry 6 products and you only sell office chairs, like you can't compete with either of those. You don't have the history, you don't have the brand recognition. And so what we do and what we'll work with you to do is figure out where you fit within the search results. Like what keywords can you rank for and own that space so that you can generate traffic. And yes, it'll be a smaller portion of the bigger market, but it'll be better targeted and you'll be more effective at selling to them and connecting with them if you find like the right audience and figure out exactly where you fit within the business market.
Definitely. So, perhaps a focus on a smaller niche would
Yeah,
be good
especially in the
for.
early going, and being quite honest with yourself about it. Like you are not going to take down Amazon. They got way too much money to do that. And so be really sincere about that and find, the pocket of really loyal customers that are going to support you and buy from you and grow with you. And then they'll share it with their friends and you'll be able to grow from that.
Excellent. So, as we witness a digital transformation era, the importance of online discoverability has never been greater. Can you explain why businesses need to prioritize their online presence and what it means for their success?
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about this question because, as a person that has built a career around Google and search engines and people being on the internet, it is second nature for me. But what I think about in a broader sense is that people have so much less time than they did before. Like they don't want to go to a shop all the time and browse. They don't have time to do tons of research. They need things to be simple and quick and efficient for them. And so in my mind, the easiest way for them to do that is do a Google search or Bing or even social media, TikTok, Instagram. Those are places that people do searches, right? And if you're not there, if you're not a part of that initial discovery phase for them, you're going to have a really hard time figuring out how to connect with them. And so I think that for any business, like even if you have a well-positioned name or you've been around for decades, like people are still going to Google your brand name. People are still going to figure out like what you offer, what's your brand like? Do they want to do business with you? And they're going to do that on a very personal level whenever they have a few minutes. And so you need to be there to meet them when those moments happen, right? That is social media. That is Google searches. That is newsletters and videos and podcasts and all this stuff, right? You need to be online. And, like if you have aspirations to go beyond your city with your business, like the only way you can really do that effectively is through a digital landscape.
Definitely. So it would be a way of scaling beyond your country. And also you have to be on social media and all these searches, because if your competitors are there, your customers are going to find them first.
Yeah. And like on that global thing, like look at us. I'm in Vancouver. You're in Thailand. It's 8 a.m. here. It's 10 p.m. there. Like, do you think we'd be doing this in any other like possible way? We could write letters to each other and like answer those questions. Like, no. So yeah, I think that any company that thinks that they don't need a digital presence is foolish and yeah, like it's short-sighted. But I suspect that the people listening to this already know how important it is to be online. So I'm preaching to the choir here.
Definitely. I think it is more about optimizing your online presence right now than any time in history. And also, especially with AI generated search, I was wondering if you had any insights you want to provide on that, because that has definitely changed the landscape of SEO.
Yeah, I think that in the short term, it's going to be a tool to help us accelerate the work that we do. If you are using AI to write your blog posts and to optimize your content and your website, you're taking the average of everybody else's work that's done it before you. So it won't be better than anyone else's because it's just a consolidated thought, a collection of data from everyone else. So you can use it, definitely, but people want to do business with companies that they like, know, and trust. If your content looks and sounds the same as everybody else's, that is not personal. And by all means, like it's going to evolve, it's going to get better. But I think that AI, as it stands right now, is a tool to help you move forward and move things more quickly. But it should not be the only way that you do your marketing. It is really generic. It won't lose you any arguments. Like you'll be able to make a strong case, but it won't win you anything because it's just the average opinion of everybody else's. So keep that in mind. I think that it for tedious things, it can really speed things up, but I wouldn't rely solely on it just yet.
So I see. So you're more you support using AI for generic things, but you think that in SEO there needs to be more human effort because that is what wins customers.
Totally. Yeah. Like your website is your brand. It's the first moment for many people that they've ever experienced what you do and who you are. And if you're leaving that to a robot who doesn't know anything about you, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be very personal. It's going to read like everybody else's generic website. So yeah, be original, be yourself. Like, if you're worried about your grammar or your spelling or, is it interesting enough? Like, sure, you could ask AI to check those things, if you're looking for more exciting language, like words to use, like by all means, or if you have to write like 100 product descriptions, by all means, get it to do that, but don't let it be the only thing that, stands between you and your customers.
Definitely. So the human effort goes a long way in winning your customers online.
Very much so. Yeah.
So, with over a decade of experience, you've encountered various SEO challenges. What are some common pitfalls that businesses should avoid to ensure that their SEO efforts yield positive results?
Yeah. I think one thing that a lot of people first getting into SEO or first thinking about SEO for their business is that it's the cookie cutter approach, that following the best practices that everyone else has already shared. And it's a great place to start for sure, but you have to tailor it to your own business. Like, not everything is going to make sense for every organization. Like, I can speak to, the one hand, we had a counselor website do extremely well. On the flip side, we pulled the same strategy for a law firm and it didn't go anywhere. And so you really have to be adaptable and think about your own customers and think about what they care about, and understand that as you optimize your website. The rest of it is going to be helpful, but creating authentic, good content that your audience really cares about is going to be much more valuable than following a bunch of, best practices and checklists. Follow those, but definitely tailor it to your own business.
Definitely, I agree with that because I think a lot of people, they look at content from some great companies and large companies, and they try to copy that. And when they copy, it doesn't work for them. So I think tailoring is so important.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, like Amazon, like everyone loves what they've done and everyone wants to be like Amazon. But the reality is that 99% of us will never be Amazon, and that's fine. That's great. Like, you can still build a fantastic business and be super successful. Don't try and copy what Amazon does. They have so much money to throw at it. You got to find your own kind of like clever ways of tailoring and finding the opportunities within your own market. Because, I could tell you like how to optimize a website for, going back to the chairs example, like selling chairs. But, if we're trying to sell medical devices or face masks, that experience is going to be very different again. There's different mindsets, there's different pieces of information that people will need to make their decisions. So you do have to be, your business and your industry better than most. And so see, what's going on in there and look to what your true competitors are doing, and see how they're kind of doing their work, and try and adapt.
Definitely. So be authentic and adaptable.
Definitely. Yeah.
So at Method and Metric, you emphasize the connection between people and data in SEO. How do you leverage data to drive impactful outcomes for your clients?
Yeah. I mean, every decision we make for our clients is based in what the data tells us. We are looking at the opportunities, we're looking at what's working and try and replicate that. We'll look to see what isn't working and we'll look to stop that. And so for all of the work that we do, data is huge. And to be fair, like those data numbers are hopefully largely mostly people that are coming to our website. And so we are trying to understand what people and what the customers are genuinely interested in so that we can make it better for them. And again, it comes down to being adaptable and iterating and like kind of continuing to grow off of the successes and cutting out the things that are not working as quickly as we notice them.
That's excellent because I think this just shows the importance of testing, because I think especially with SEO strategies, you're going to be testing out a billion strategies, and the ones that don't work, you just cut them out. The ones that do, you keep doing that and iterating.
Yeah, it's a more elegant way of like throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's sort of like having a bit of a history, or like being like, oh yeah, if I throw it against that wall in that corner, it'll stick better than if I throw it down there. And so it's taking the data and always just kind of trying to find something new to learn from it.
Definitely. So can you share a case study where method and metric strategies has transformed a business's website traffic and revenue? What were the key factors that led to that success?
Yeah, we recently had one working with a law firm, and their website was quite outdated. It had stuck with like old school SEO practices, and to be fit, like for a long time, it was extremely effective. But we were, seeing a gradual decline in the number of visitors, but also the number of leads that they were getting every month. And so we proposed a refresh of the website and the brand. So making sure that it was secure and faster and worked really well on mobile. But we also refreshed all of the content on the website and just sort of tone down the amount of information that we were providing at the surface level. All of the information was still there. You just had to, it wasn't just all right there to begin with. And so those four pieces really had a massive impact. Like as soon as the new website launched, it went from like declining and just took right back up to where it was like 6 months before. And it was quite a substantial and stark improvement. And so, the things, modernizing your website, making sure that it works really well on mobile devices, and that experience is really good. That was like the first thing that we really wanted to focus on. Make the content a lot more digestible and easy for people to read it and scan. And the way that we read on the internet is so much different than how we would read a book. And so taking that into consideration, and really just improving the overall experience of the website. Because honestly, we didn't really change our keyword strategy. We didn't shift kind of how the website was structured in terms of the site architecture. And so, we were really able to point to simplifying the messaging and making it a lot more visually appealing, had huge impact on their business.
That's very interesting because I think a lot of people, they see if an SEO firm comes and improve your website, they would likely be improving keywords. And I think that your focus on optimization for mobile devices and every other device, actually, I think it's excellent because these days everyone surfs the web from everywhere. And I think if your website is not optimized for mobile and it looks a bit weird when you move it around, that is not okay.
Exactly. Like some of the forms didn't work on the mobile stuff. And when you have like a massive block of text that takes up the whole screen, it's like no one wants to read that. And so little things like that obviously had a huge impact on it. So yeah.
Definitely. So, and I also really liked your focus on digestible content because I think that is the key thing that brings in new users and audiences, because when you're first trying to bring someone in, they're not going to read your very long essay. They'll probably just read maybe like a short post.
Exactly. Yeah. They want to know when they arrive to your website for the first time, they want to know, like, can you help them? Are you able to answer the question that they search for in Google that brought them to your website? And if you don't do that right away, they're going to leave. And, like we said earlier, people don't have time. People don't want to read your beautifully written article. Like it might be super interesting, but it's not how people really want to engage, especially from a Google search perspective. So that's certainly, one facet. And then, once they're connected and they go, oh yeah, that's something that I need, they can dig deeper and find out more information about what it is exactly what you do or how you can help them, or if it is truly like everything that they need.
Definitely. So beyond traditional SEO tactics, what lesser-known strategies have you found to be surprisingly effective in boosting a website's visibility and driving organic traffic?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of little things. Putting your audience first, being really considerate about the experience that they're after. Like we said, bite-sized content is super helpful. One thing that we always advocate for with our clients, that is probably, if you're in the SEO industry, it's relatively well known, but when you're not in it, it's not as common. And it's making sure that each web page on your website only speaks to one topic. And that's one thing that we tell every client that we work with, like, you need to have a page for each kind of set of keywords or topic that you want to rank for. If you're trying to jam too many things onto one page, the stuff at the bottom isn't going to have the ability to rank as well. And so that's one thing that I really strongly advocate for. I think it's not a big industry secret. I think most SEOs know this, but outside of that, people don't really think about, making sure that that page only speaks to this one thing. And that's it's super helpful for search engines to understand the content, but it's also really helpful for humans to understand the content, right? And get to, like, they'll see right away, oh yeah, this can answer my question. Because if they don't see that right away, they're gonna be like, that's wrong, I don't want to be here, and they're gonna leave.
Definitely. A good strategy for both humans and AIs.
Yeah. Yeah. Put a human first though. Like, make sure that,
Okay.
yeah, the human experience comes before the robot experience.
Absolutely. So, for non-technical founders, understanding SEO can be daunting. What practical steps or tips would you recommend for them to improve their website's visibility and attract more organic traffic?
I think the first thing is test. I mean, yeah, I could tell you all the different little tactics, like, but at the end of the day, it's going to be different for your website. It's going to be different for the industry you're in, and who else you're competing against. You know, for being wholly honest, like, your competitors are already doing SEO, and they're iterating off of what you're doing too, right? Like, it's a competition. And so, you have to be continuously trying to improve. The things that worked for you 6 months ago might still work in 6 months, but they might not be as effective. And so you need to be continuously thinking about what the next step is. And obviously, when you're running your own business, that's really hard to do, because you're always thinking about the whole scheme of the business. The other thing that I think that is really effective is consistency. If you're publishing a blog post once a month, that's great. Keep doing that. If you're updating your products, like, on a regular basis, that's really good too. Like, Google likes to see active websites. Google likes to see that the content is being refreshed and there's new stuff coming out, and that you're actively trying to connect and market to your audience. Consistency is really big. Your content could be amazing, but if you haven't updated it in 5 years, that's kind of a red flag to Google. Maybe a yellow flag. Red is a little stark, but yeah, it's one of those things that you need to be continuously iterating and adapting and kind of growing with that. And I think the other piece too is, like, be really honest with yourself as to what it is that you do and what it is that you offer to your customers, and what do they really want. If you're creating content or offering things that nobody wants to read or buy, like, it doesn't matter about the SEO. So those are the things, like, know your audience really well and be really honest with how you can serve them.
Definitely. I think what you said about knowing your audience very well, I think it's the same thing for every business. And if you don't know what your customers want, that kind of makes you unable to do the other things like optimize your website because you'll just be going in the wrong direction. Because like what you said with Amazon, if you think that you're competing against Amazon when you're a small business, that means you're not really knowing your market or your audience.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing too on that point, like know your analytics, know what people are visiting and looking at on your website, because then you can build off that. And even if the numbers are small, like that's fine. You can grow those, like that can change, but look to see what people are engaging with, what is interesting to them, and try and replicate that and expand on that. But be really familiar with your analytics because it's all performance based. And if you're working on improving things, how do you know if you're improving if you don't know your analytics?
Definitely. So previously you said something about how you should be checking your website every 6 months. So
Oh,
not okay, maybe you
yeah.
have a different opinion now because I'm a bit curious that how often should a business owner be trying to improve their SEO strategy? So for
Yeah.
example, if they go to your firm and they improve it one time and it's working for 3 months or so, when should they come back and take a look again?
Yeah, I would say they should be looking at their website every week at a very minimum. You should be looking at it every couple of days. Obviously, you have a lot on your plate. You're a business owner, but you should be checking the analytics daily, and you should be looking to make changes on your website a weekly basis. SEO does take time, so it will take 3 to 6 months to really see the impact, but you should be making sure that your website is up and running and that everything is working on a weekly basis at a very minimum. Because if your website goes down and you don't see that, that's a lot of business that you're going to miss out on. And then Google is less likely to show you your website in the search results because they don't trust it. And so, yeah, you should be really on it like all the time, checking it, making sure that it's working. Test your forms, test your checkout process, make sure the links work and everything like that. So there's always things to be monitoring and reviewing on your website.
So analytics daily and website weekly.
Yeah, at a minimum, for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. So we are wrapping up for today. Thank you so much for your expertise today.
Thanks for having me. It was super nice.